Welcome to the elevated chat room. It's Dwayne Malone right here to across from me. I'm used to saying to my right, but across from him, you have your host, Mr. Lonzo Jones. Elevate your mind, elevate your life. Tonight, we are super excited and thankful for the guests that we have with us. And right here to my right, I got my lovely angel, Miss Angel Malone. But we'll introduce everyone in just a moment. But right now, I'm turning it over to you, Jones.
Like my guy Dwayne said, welcome back to the elevated chat room. Elevate your mind, elevate your life. Now we got a special topic for tonight. Our biggest lessons from married life. I'm gonna introduce our guests for tonight. Over here we got the Cows, Luke and Janelle. We got Dwayne and Miss Angel. We got Miss Renee, Mr. Nelson. Well, Ronald Nelson, but everybody call him Nelson. This is my wife Brittany. We got Miss Latrice Great and the great Antonio Great. So first off, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you guys also in the crowd for being with us tonight, man. I'm really looking forward to this, and I think this is something that is needed. You know, like you can never talk enough about married life, about being married, and about the ups and downs, because it's like a smooth roller coaster. Because it ain't always good, ain't always bad. So y'all lock in with us tonight, man, and we're gonna break this thing open with an icebreaker. I ain't gonna pick on y'all. I'm gonna pick on Nelson right now, though. So if you had to pick a TV sitcom to describe your marriage, what would it be?
All in the Family.
And why is that?
Well, when you look at Archie Bunker and you look at that, they was older people, because our house, we don't have no kids. All our kids is grown and gone. So more so what we're doing now is we're just, helping them, giving them advice as they, go on through their journey and through their situations and challenges in their life. So that's the aspect of, I'm sorry.
That's why I said phones on silent. See, you don't listen. See, that's how pastors be. You know what I'm saying? Pastors don't want to listen. They won't do what they want to do. No, I'll just play.
It's the thing I wasn't expecting. I don't be expecting nobody to call me here.
So all in the family.
I mean, there you go. It's all.
You important, huh?
Yeah. No, I'm not. No, I'm not important. I'm special in God's sight and important in Him. But really, like I say, all in the family, the bunkers, because we're doing more advice as well as being pastors. So, it's more of a raising a family. So my other part would be the Huxtables, the Cosby Show.
Okay.
So, that's really how our relationship is in our family and everything.
That's what's up. All right, Cows. What's y'all sitcom?
Be transparent. We were talking about this on the way here.
Come on.
Man, I couldn't tell you one of those shows. I have not seen one ever. Y'all gonna think I'm crazy. I don't watch much TV. So
okay.
So when we looked at it, she said the Cosby's is one of them that we said on the way here we were talking about, but we weren't sure.
Okay.
So, but we said walk-up songs, something like that. Family songs. We might could throw down on that, man.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's what's up. What about y'all, Grace? What TV sitcom describes you guys' marriage?
I think. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, there we go. I think my wife and kids. Yeah, my wife and kids. I think one thing that stands out to me about that sitcom is the fact that the parents were young.
Okay,
they had like a hipness to them. You know what I'm saying? They seem to be pretty hip and knowledgeable of what's going on in that day and time with their kids and the culture and things of that nature. So I feel like that's a good representation of my wife and I.
That's what's up.
Anything? Okay.
All right, Dwayne. What about y'all? You and Angel?
So we thought about it. We could not think of one. So it would have to be something unique. And we just can't find nothing to explain it.
So what you trying to say?
The Rock.
The movie, TV show. I remember that. Bald headed guy. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, I remember that.
So y'all saying it because of my head? Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
So y'all can come up with that. I told you y'all could have picked any. It had to be on the list. Just
I'm gonna be
anything.
so honest with you. We were so distracted because we just had a grandbaby this morning, and bro.
So I guess I'll let y'all slide then.
Hey. G Paul. Hello.
Hello.
All right. So Britt, what would describe ours?
It's gotta be my wife and kids. Like hands down, he literally does the kids like how he does. Like if I brought one in right now, they go, "What? How's your daddy tell you no?" No. So like that's literally us. Like I'm gonna dance when I say something to him, or when something going on, be like, talk to your daddy. Like it's. I mean, watching it, we laugh. We like, man, it's like watching our life.
Well, I agree on that. Anybody in the crowd want to tell what they what TV show y'all would be before we keep it moving? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. All right, Dwayne.
Okay.
Woman guy.
All right, we're gonna go right into it. So the first question that we're gonna ask to the Jones, what has been the most surprising lesson you've learned in marriage?
I really, really thought about this. Because every day can be a surprise. Surprise! You didn't know.
This is Lonzo Jones.
Didn't know. I would say for me, you know, when you marry somebody, you're like, oh, I know this person. I know this person. But you learn something to like, we've been together. I tell him I gave mom a good years. You know, we've been together since I was 18, 19, you know. So it's like we have grown with each other. So I'm still learning him because as we grow older, things change. So you realize like, yeah, I know you, but I'm still learning you. And you don't really see that. You don't really see that train coming. Like you think, oh, I know him. We're just going to roll with what I know. And as life goes on and journeys go on, it's like I'm learning you. And it's like sometimes where I'm learning him all over again to make sure like we lining up with each other. So that was kind of something I didn't really see coming, like me relearning him in different stages of life.
That's good. I would say the level of sacrificing and serving and personal development. Never going into a marriage, and I think it would be at such a high level of having to sacrifice on many different levels as a husband and as a father, and then serving like it's like that's almost what the role is, like just serving and serving and serving and serving. Not that it's a bad thing, but going into the marriage, I didn't think it'll be that much, you know, from day to day, from week to week, from month to month, and then like I said, the personal development, because if I did not develop personally, I would not be the man I am, and I would not be the man for the family and for my wife. Because Lord knows, like the growth. If you knew me 10 years ago, like my mouth, I talk a lot now, but back then I wasn't talking about the right stuff. You see what I'm saying? So the level of personal development, sacrificing and serving, I would say, man, that kind of slapped me in the face. So yeah, that's why I go with that. Anybody want to comment on like that particular topic before we go to the next question? Don't be shy. What you got?
You got me now?
Yeah.
All right. For me, I would say patience and understanding. I've learned, even though you love is very important, but understanding is just as important as love.
Come on.
Because we need to know why our spouse is reacting or doing the things that they're doing. And like for me, once I got married, you know, we were raised different, and me and her, we already pretty much have been set in our ways, you know, so I need to understand, well, why is she acting like this or saying what she's saying, you know, and for some of that, it takes patience. It definitely takes patience, you know, especially getting married with two. She already had 3 kids. I already have 1. And I raised mine maybe differently than what she did, you know. Her kids taught me patience. You know, I've learned a lot of patience just by the way I raised mine compared to how she raised hers. You know, her boys, I'm used to growing up sports, you know, in your face type of guy. If I would come at them like that, they would shut down, you know. So I had to learn a lot of patience, which also helped me here with the jump program.
Yes, Lord.
Because you definitely got to have the patience in here. But also, again, back to what I said, understanding, you know, That's something my mom always used to tell me. She said, Gary, love, of course, son, is very important, but you definitely need to understand that person.
That's good.
Because sometimes we don't know, well, hey, why Zoe act like this? But when you understand and get to know that person, you already know. You don't even have to ask that question because you understand, okay, what he's been through or what some of the challenges of life they've been faced with, so that helps you get a better understanding of how they was raised with that person. So, like I said, I think patience and understanding most definitely.
That's good because it says in all your ways, get understanding. And like you said, once you actually get to know somebody, like it's easier to understand them. Like my girl back there in the back, Chantrice, I know her. Like, so when she being Chantrice, I'm like, well, she just being Chantrice. I love her through it. When she'll come right back around the next day and we good to go. But that's people and you love them and it's not a fault in nobody. That's just how they are. And most people that once you expose that to them, they work on it. You know what I'm saying? And then now it's a whole lot easier to come together. Well, I know how Dwayne is. You know what I'm saying? And of course I know how my wife is. But let's keep it moving. We're gonna keep it. Oh,
I just that was really good what you said. I just said that to somebody today. With him, like you say, his mouth, like he can cut you before you know you cut. And I used to tell him all the time, you got to stitch people back up. You just can't cut them and let them bleed out. I say it all the time.
Wow.
But I had to learn, like, okay, sometimes you're gonna get hurt, and that's just because you're different than him, and he's not. And you have to know that he loves you, and he's not trying to purposefully hurt you. That doesn't mean you're not going to get hurt, but he's not trying to hurt you. And so you got to understand where he's coming from, and then he really means well when he really saying what he's saying. And then the understanding part for me is me saying, hey, look, I hear what you're saying, but you got to find a better way, because the petty in me was ready. So just bring it down a couple of notches. So yeah, understanding is really big to not even going where it could even go, making it worse than what it was. So
can I say something on that? I think you both are saying the same thing, but just using two different words. Understanding, getting to know each other on a daily, because you don't want to stay in a place where you do not learn your person every day, because they're growing, changing, evolving. And if you are stuck on when you first met them, then you will not understand where they're going. So you have to be able to learn the person. You have to be able to study the person, and not just one way. It has to be both ways. So then when the person is growing, you understand, like, hey, I see where they're going. I see what the vision is, and I see what their dream is. And you're not in your feelings because you're not a part of it. So understanding and growing together is hand to hand to
I like
me.
that. I like that. All right.
Scripture says, dwell with them according to knowledge. So that's what you're really saying. As you learn one another, you get knowledgeable of each other and in life. And that's what make the marriage, to me, interesting, if you're willing to lay everything down and be open. If you're being open about it, who you are, what you expect, what you like, your whole marriage aspect change, because your words frame your marriage. When you think about a marriage, think of a puzzle. If you ever take 1,000-piece puzzle, dump it on the table, throw the box away, put the puzzle together. You're going to have to create the outer frame.
That's good.
Then you got to fill in the inside. So your marriage is a picture frame. You get to place it and put the pieces in order, so you make your marriage.
That's good.
And that's how you do it according to knowledge.
That's good.
Elevate your mind.
Elevate your life.
Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Hey, can you repeat the question again?
If I gotta repeat the question, that means you don't need to answer.
I've been waiting over here 15 minutes to say something, man.
The question says, what has been the most surprising lesson you've learned in your marriage?
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, I'm ready, cuz. Let me tell you, I learned a whole lot. But for real though, like in my singleness, man, I put a lot of personal emphasis on understanding what it means to just be faithful, right? So that was a practice for me. Like I just understood, like you just can't in a sense, be sleeping around with everybody and then expect to get married and all of a sudden you just gonna straighten up and fly right?
Come on.
So I began to develop those habits and tendencies before in my singleness. But what I immediately began to learn is that, and still understanding or learning it to this day, is that in the relationship, I had to die to myself daily. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about wives being submissive to their husband, but it was like, I got to be submissive to my wife. And I had to die daily because of the servitude, because of sacrifices or whatever the case may be, because the truth of the matter is it was no more about me. You know what I mean? And I think that was the biggest lesson that I had to learn right off the rip. And that's still something that I'm learning to this day, because we are human and there are moments where I may want to do what I want to do or how I want to do things. But at the same time, always keeping the big picture in mind and saying, I'm going to do this or I'm doing this with the bigger picture in mind. So just dying to yourself and submitting daily to my wife and to my family has been the biggest lesson, and is one I continue to learn and grow in.
All right, that's good. That's good. All right. Let's move on to question number 2, because we won't move on.
You good? Let's go.
All right, here we go. This is for the cows. It says, how do you handle challenges or disagreements in your relationship?
It's good. That's a good question. So what I would say
Is your mic on?
yeah, check.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. What I would say for us, one of the things, and even when we were younger, starting out in marriage, one of the things, it goes back to kind of what y'all were talking about, learning each other, learning that aspect of it. But one of the things for us, I would always say, give me just a minute. Like if we get in a disagreement or argument, and she'd be like, I want to talk right now.
That's me.
Pause.
So it's-
Pause. So raise your hand if it's the husbands that's usually saying that, but it's the wives that usually don't want to give you that pause.
I'm like, I want to talk about it right now. Yeah, let's get it. Let's get over this.
You want to talk about it right now?
I like chase you around the house, so I'm talking about it right now.
Okay. So
chasing.
how important is tone? How important is like tone or the way that you're talking, which is going to determine whether or not I'm going to be ready to talk in that moment?
Listen, we do something.
Hold up now. Let them. They gotta answer their question first. This is their question first. We're gonna feed off of them. Let.
Man,
Look,
y'all keep that thought.
Hold that.
Keep that thought.
Hold that. Dwayne threw y'all off. He went on to another route. All right, let's go back. Cows. How y'all handle disagreements?
So one thing we started, and this is learning. Like we learned, we're 14 and a half years in now. We're still learning every day how to deal with these disagreements or how to deal with arguments or whatever you want to call it. It happens. It's going to happen. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. And so you better learn how to talk about it. Communication is key. You have to communicate. You have to communicate. But for people like me, and I think after a few years I've gotten better at it. But I don't struggle with telling you the truth a lot of times. So, and so why I need a timeout is because now we've learned that I need to say timeout for me. It's not for her and making it right. But if I call a timeout, it's because I will say something that I probably shouldn't say or don't mean maybe, but out of frustration and anger, I let my flesh get a hold of me and I'll say something that I don't need to say. So and I would say that was hard for both of us to understand at a younger age, but now where we're at, and we're still learning, but we're both at a place. If I tell her, hey, time out, and that don't mean time out like a year later. That right. Means like we've got boundaries for that, and we had to set boundaries up for that. Okay, time out means I might need 5 minutes, and we'll come back, and then I might say time out. I need 5 more minutes. But one of the things that I will say is we're not going to bed angry with each other. We're going to talk about it and flesh it out, and we're gonna go as deep as it takes us to figure out what the problem was. And if we're real honest, 99.9% of the time when there's a problem, it's usually within yourself. It's not the other person. It's you that don't have something in order. And you got to get yourself taken care of before you can take care of the other one next to you. So
that's good stuff.
And that's what I would say. Like communication is key for me is what I would say.
All right, Ms. Kyle.
I'll just say that, we're going to have disagreements and misunderstandings and things. But I think it's important that we have to realize that we're on the same team.
Come on.
And the enemy's
Come
not
on.
each other. Satan is attacking marriages all day, every day. If he can get between a marriage, it's breaking up a whole family, generations. So anytime we have a disagreement, I'm reminded like he loves me, I love him, we're on the same team. Like we can figure this out and we respect each other. We have boundaries. Like he knows, like he said, he can call a timeout and I have to respect that, but he has to respect coming back to it in a timely manner.
That's good.
And not let it go on. And so, and also don't forget to pray about the situation, to take it to the Lord first, maybe before you take it to your spouse. Because God can help each other open our eyes to the different point of view, different situation, just open our eyes. We're totally different people. We have different upbringings, different personalities. And also I'll say, I think we come to the understanding that sometimes it's okay to disagree. It's okay
Yes.
to,
Agree to disagree.
agree to disagree. Yes, exactly.
One thing we do say though is we can agree to disagree, but with kids, we're not going to argue and agree to disagree and cut one another down. Like, so if she says something, then I got to back her. That's what she said. Even though I might not agree with that at that moment, then we can talk about it and behind closed doors and get that straightened out. But if she disagrees with me, I still need to back her, vice versa. So it's a two-way street with that on that part of it. But
That's
I think
good.
that's important too.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, oh, you
Go
have some,
ahead,
no, I'm about to turn it up because Miss
Turn it
Nelson
over. No,
had some.
I
She was
want to
ready.
hear.
Yeah,
I want to hear.
yeah, we ready for you now. I ain't forget about you. I ain't forgot about you. What you had, Miss Nelson?
Well,
Miss
when
Renee.
when he talked about tone,
Okay.
for us with our kids, I have boys.
Mm.
So our daughter is the oldest. So he would be soft with her to me at times. But with the boys, it came off a little bit abrupt.
Aggressive.
It'd be like aggressive. You'd
Yeah.
be like, you're a man, now you need to do what. And so I'd be like, honey, it's not what you're saying to the boys, it's how you're saying it.
Mm.
So when you talked about tone is important. And the tone just don't go for the kids, it goes for each other. So if I come to him aggressive, what do I expect back? Aggression.
Yes.
So if I come to him loving, in the word, we already know it says soft answer, turn away wrath. So if I can come to him in a soft tone or say, let's communicate. He's been preaching, he's talking about a lot of times we listen, but we don't hear.
Mm.
So when your tone is right, you cause me to hear you and not just listen to you.
That's good. So a lot of people like to listen to respond instead of listening to understand. But that takes maturity, that takes growth, and that actually takes a want to. Because a lot of times when we get to arguing, we want to be right. And that's one of the biggest issues. Like, it's not about who's right. You got to realize who you're fighting. It's us versus the enemy, us versus the problem, not me versus you. And so once we flip that switch in our mind, now it's easy to say this. Now don't get it twisted. It's easy to say this, but when it get yourself a timeout, step back, and hey, let's come back and rehearse this thing. Anybody else before we go to the next question?
I just want to add to that, because at the same time it's your tone, but one of the things that we have is that no matter if we in a disagreement, we're going to sleep in the same bed.
Yeah.
We're not going to different rooms.
Come on.
And I'm going to touch you.
Come on.
I'm going to touch you.
Hey, say that for your
Come
question.
on.
Nah.
Come on.
I said say that for your
Come on.
question.
No, I mean, but it's going to answer this, because what I mean touch you doesn't necessarily mean intimacy.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Yes, sir.
Touching mean that I'm a lady and I'm going to put my hand
Come
on
on.
you.
I need the
You could
skin to
be
skin
angry,
contact.
I'm going to put my foot, on your leg, I'm going to touch you. If you scoot all the way over, I'm scooting all the way over with you.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I'm gonna keep you from falling out the bed.
Yeah, keep right.
Let's go.
Even if you're going
That's
up the
good.
bed, if you go in the other room, I'm coming in the other room.
That's
I'm
good.
not letting you go, and you're going to be able to separate to make it even bigger than what it
Come
needs
on.
to be.
Come on.
But I don't go in another room.
And in the end, by the time I touch her, she's going to start laughing because I'm going to make her laugh. And then the whole situation is gone.
Yeah.
Because we can count Literally, we've been married 23 years.
Mm.
We can count on one hand how many times we got into a serious argument.
That's
And
good.
that's 23 years.
That's good.
And that's not a story. It's not fake. On one hand, we
That's
can
good.
count. And I'm not going past 3 fingers.
That's what's
So
up.
we don't really argue because our communication is open. Like when she said tone, I had to change my tone. Ex-military, like we used to rah, rah. And so when I realized that, I had to change the way I spoke to my sons. I had to change the way I spoke to my daughter. I had to change the way I even spoke to people because it was direct. I like to go straight.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat around the bush. So I had to change everything. And as the military term, adapt and overcome. And so and that's what I did. And that's what made it work. So
That's
them
good.
2 things that when you get in the dispute and challenge, make sure you always touch. Don't allow the enemy, because the Bible says is the enemy looks for the space.
Yes.
He's
Lord.
looking for that space. And when he find that gap, he'll wind up making that door wider. And it was not but a little pebble.
Little crack.
But you made it to a big boulder.
Yeah. Go ahead, Luke.
One thing I was going to say too is anytime you get into that argument or disagreement or anything like that, man, you can't keep score. Like,
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I was thinking
That's
about,
good.
as you were talking about, finishing off, you ain't gonna let her go to the other room, whatever. But when you get in that mindset of keeping score of she did this, he did that, I do everything. If you can focus on what they do well,
Yep.
and not look at what they do, because you could think of a million things I don't do well.
Right.
And that's every one of us. And that's in human beings, that's in any relationship. But with your spouse, if you start getting that mindset of she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that, but I'm not reminding myself how well she does with the kids or how well she does with the laundry and all those things she does that I take for granted every day. And then the devil's winning because he's splitting that. There's wider and wider and wider. And then you get to the point where you're looking for somewhere else. And that's how we end in the way we end. And so, my thing I would encourage more than anything is communication. But at the end of the day, you never keep score. Like you never, because when you get in the mindset of what they can't do or what they're not doing, you're going down the wrong road and it's not gonna end well. Because you'll never see it. You'll never see the good
Right.
stuff.
But see, that's I'm glad you said that because there's a quote when you said I had to write it down. It says what you focus on, you see. And what you see, you feed.
Yeah.
So if you focus on the negative stuff that your spouse is doing, that's all you're going to see. And then you're going to continue to feed that. And then next time you look up and like you in a dark place. So let's move on though. Cause like I said, these some good questions.
Yeah.
Dwayne, you came up with some 5 questions, my boy.
As an insider, I got it. Here we go. All right. So the next question, this is directed to the Nelsons. This question right here, how do you ensure that emotional and physical intimacy remain strong in your relationship?
I want to hear this.
First. Okay. So for a long time, we always think that intimacy is just making love. Intimacy is more than just making love. Intimacy is, are you into me? So if you're into me, then I don't have to worry about the intimacy because you're meeting my needs. So that's physically, mentally, spiritually, you're meeting my needs. We have learned to build each other up. I might have a down time. When my husband walks in the house, I know when he's had a rough day. I know when I need to leave him alone. Give him a time. Give him his space. Give him the recliner and the remote. And after he's there for a time, I can come in and say, hey, honey, we need, they need. But I've given him that space because I'm into him as much as he's into me.
I like that.
So that was the intimacy for me.
That's good. That is good.
Hey, you better represent for the home team.
I'm telling you, bro. Come through.
I don't know if y'all ready for this.
Hold up. I gave y'all this question on purpose. I know you.
Right.
We have good conversation in the chair when you come to my house.
Yes, we do.
Come on.
But like, but what I say is the same thing you did to get me is the same thing you got to do to keep me.
Man, come on.
In other words, if you was freaky then,
Come on.
you got to be freaky now.
Come on, man.
The freak don't stop.
Come on.
It can't stop.
So y'all don't want to hear this.
And it's not, see,
Y'all don't want to hear this.
see, look,
Like, this is real.
It's all right. I think I think the mic went down or something. But look, I'm 56 years old. I know I don't look 56 because I announce I'm Benjamin Buttons. And if Abraham can have a kid at 100 years old,
Come on.
I'm gonna last to 110. I'm for real. Because when we get us men, when we get to a certain age, things change.
Right.
So, and when things begin to change physically, as my wife said, kissing gets you pregnant. And a lot of times my wife was just saying that because sometimes she just only want to be held
Mm-hmm.
and not be intimate.
Right.
So I had to learn her love language. And so as I learned her love language, our intimacy physically as well as mentally on the growth. But because I learned her and I understood intimacy and I got to know her, we don't let it die.
That's good.
And then one of the things is you also got to take that time to where it's just you and her. You got to take that. Sometimes you got to leave the kids behind
Leave
and
'em.
take their vacation. Sometimes you just got to find that babysitter and go to the movies, go out to dinner. That is intimacy in itself because you getting that QT. And every
need
woman
it.
wants that QT with her husband, that quality time. And when we avoid that quality time, it hinders in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the effect. Because when our kids was younger, we used to have to go, okay, 9 o'clock. Y'all got to go to bed.
Come on.
Hey, straight up, you going to bed. If I got to put some beer in your...
Wait a minute.
Benadryl. Not beer. Melatonin.
Beer. Michelob Light.
Wait a minute.
I'm being funny, y'all. I'm being funny. Because I don't drink.
Disclaimer,
And
disclaimer.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
Nah, we know you
really,
joking, bro.
Really, I'm just joking. But we set rules and boundaries.
Come on, man.
For our intimacy so we can spend that time together. I remember when our first trips, we went to Orlando and we were staying at Orange Lakes. And we had a package and got to play miniature golf. So what we did, the kids were asleep. We got up early that morning. We went out and played miniature golf, just me and her, to take our time in, and then came back and spent the rest of the time with the kids. So you gotta
like
keep
that.
that intimacy going. Everything, like I said, what you did to get them
Come on, bro.
is the same thing you got to do to keep them. And what you did to get her
Come on.
is the same thing you got to do to keep her. Because you
That's true.
can't, if you took her to Longhorn and you bought her the outlaw steak, Mickey D's and the Happy Meal ain't gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So if you started out with the Happy Meal and you worked your way up, that's fine.
That's better. Right?
You know what I'm saying?
From the
That's
bottom to the top, yeah.
Because when we started, you had to start somewhere.
Right.
But if you started high and then you want to say, I want to finish low, you're going to have some problems. But if you maintain where you are,
That's good.
that intimacy will last.
I'm surprised you didn't say anything about emotions. I was waiting for you said the 3 things, but you never said emotions. And I know that emotions is like being emotionally attached, connected to my wife is when she really feels, you know what I'm saying, like we're.
I was just getting ready to finish it.
Okay, because
Go ahead.
hold on, because wait a minute, I'm not that emotional. I'm just kidding. It's like wait a minute. No, but seriously, like for me, and this is a conversation we had, and y'all know he an open book. He don't mind me saying it. So, like, if I gotta chase you around the house to have a conversation with you, to like spend time with you, because he's a schedule guy. He's routine. And that's fine. That's great because we need that structure in the house. Because I'm a with the wind girl. Like, we just going with the wind. Woo, what's today? So, and that's fine. But if I'm just trying to have what I deem to be important. It's probably not important to him, but what I deem to be important. But what's important to you is right now getting these clothes in the washer, or right now over here doing this. If I'm chasing you around the house to have time with you, you're not going to chase me in the bedroom because you didn't have time for me all day. So all of a sudden I'm important when it's time to go to bed. You know, I don't like that. I don't like where I feel like you didn't have time for me. Look, everybody nodding their head because I know I'm not by myself. You know? So you know, but that was a conversation we had to have. I was like, look, it's not that I don't feel important, but I just feel like you didn't have time for me today. And I don't want to feel like the only time you have time for me is when it's time to go to bed. And then I had to also be understanding of, okay, if I know he's a routine guy and I know he's trying to get this done, why am I trying to have this conversation right now to be let down? So it had to be like a boundary between the two. Like, hey, at some point you got to squeeze me in, but then I do have to acknowledge, like I walk up and go, hey, you got a second? You know, like to make sure I'm not setting myself up for failure, you know?
Hey, so quick question. So, because it may be a lot of more fellas that's either watching the podcast or in the room right now that's probably doing the same thing. Since he's routine, is it possible to break the routine sometime? And when I say that is you do what he normally do in that spot to get the conversation.
I think it just depends. And the reason I can say that for us, you know, we have a very unique marriage, you know, like I like to personally cut the grass. Like I like doing that. So you could literally call him up and he likes to cook. So he could be cooking while I'm outside cutting grass. So we're not necessarily defined as what's typical. So, you know, he helps wash the clothes. Like it's really joint effort in the house. So it's not really what he's doing in this routine. It's just me kind of knowing like, okay, if he likes to go to bed, I'm a night owl. So he's trying to get these things done. Like it's about my timing, but it's also about him finding time too. I think it's really just that because we both handle a lot in the house. So
it's good.
I wanna say something
Oh,
real quick because I know he talked about the emotions of it. I can tell you for me as a woman, we don't like the emotion that the only time you're ready to touch me or play the reverse role or be intimate is when we're in the bed. I told my husband, I need you to learn how to make love to me with my clothes on before they come off. So that's that what you're talking about. That's that chasing. We got to always be ready to chase. Like I'm always chasing him. I'd be like,
Well, see, that's key. Sometimes only one is chasing the other. Whereas, you see what I'm saying? So it has to be a group, a team effort. Like this, like you were saying earlier though, about doing the same things you did when you first started, you know, got the marriage. Same thing. It's like you have to date each other while you're married. And I think a lot of times we get into a routine, we start taking each other for granted. Like, oh, she gonna be with me. She ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He gonna love me no matter what he do. I ain't gotta say this or appreciate it or whatever she does. No, the same way. Like I know, like when you were dating somebody and you trying to get intimate with that person for the first time, man, you pulling out every trick in the book. Every trick in the book. Same thing with the woman. It's like, man, I like this guy. I really like, and you pursued him. But somewhere along the marriage, we start pursuing each other. And I think that really slows down the intimacy in the marriage, if that makes sense.
it does. And I'll be honest with you, we're at home, we're empty nesters now. So now we have to do it more than ever because you could always hide behind the children. I'm putting them to bed. I got to cook. I got to clean. I got to do this. But now there is just us. It's like, okay. I mean, where's your excuse? There ain't no excuse because ain't nobody there. So it's like, okay, y'all better call before you come over to, for real, for the kids. Don't just pop up. Call before you come. Even though you got a key, make sure you call. Not, you never know.
You may get exposed.
But I'm just saying, for so long, for us, it's different because we don't have like what the greats have or what y'all have. We don't have that. The kids ain't home. So my mama, come here. I need help. It's like, boy, will you please sit down somewhere? Please. But that's the emotion.
That's good. So I have made some notes real quick, and I'm gonna read them right quick, and then we can move on. women with intimacy, and I looked this stuff up. I'm not just making this stuff up. So, but studies show that women have to have the emotional connection in order to get to the point where you're actually sexually intimate. They need the emotional connection. They love to talk. They want to talk to you. They want to feel loved, and they also need help around the house with chores. It says studies show that women are turned on when their men help them around the house. So if you want to get your woman in the mood, they say wash some dishes. They say do a chore.
Don't quit chasing.
Do a poll.
Don't quit
Do a
chasing.
chore.
Do a poll. Do a poll right quick.
Is that true, ladies? Okay. Okay.
Hold
Okay.
on. Raise your hand. Let's just make sure. Okay.
Okay, so
That's what's up?
now, as far as men, and see, this is what we have to understand. We are totally different.
Yeah.
Men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. Okay, that's a book. Pick it up. All right. So men, it says for intimacy for men, we're visual. We like what we see. Okay. It says that we need a high physical need. We love touch. We love to feel on you. We love to touch the body. Book of Solomon, he talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Now, we like respect. And within that respect, it looks like we need appreciation and we need to be seen. It's not stroking our ego. That's just the way God built us. Okay. Then it says that, let's see here. Wife needs to initiate. It says men find intimacy better when their wives want them and lets them know. So if the husband, or vice versa, but if the husband's the only one that initiates, sooner or later he gets into a place where is she really feeling me? Because she never pursues me. But you pursued us. We pursued each other in dating. We pursued each other when we first got married.
Yeah.
But now that we married, we've been in this thing for a long time. It's like, well, shoot. Like, if he want, he better come get it.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And it's hard
Like-
for men to get rejection.
Oh, man. Come on. Yeah, hey, that's a, like, and that's another thing. Now, man, y'all know, if we get rejected, we feel like, man, our pride, our feelings, we hurt. We feel like we less than, like, bro, she don't love me no more. The whole world coming to an end. But to y'all, it's like, man, I was just tired, or I just went in the mood, or this or that. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be a balance, and we have to get to know each other better.
Yeah.
And I think that as we continue to grow, that we have to be willing to sacrifice for one another. Because if my love language is touch, if I want physical intimacy, but you want to buy me gifts, that ain't what I want.
Yeah.
You taking the easy way out. You see what I'm saying? Like, if her love language is gifts, and all I want to do is touch on her, she's like, bruh, like, you know what so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
We have to speak each other's love language and not try to love the person the way we want to be loved.
That's right.
Yeah.
So any comments before we move on?
I just want to say too, because we talk about marriage a lot when we do our episodes, and a lot of times men hope that the wives will have handle their emotions a little better. And what I mean by that is, like, literally you can build up all day long. One phone call, something the child do can destroy it all within that moment.
That's real talk. That's everybody.
Yeah,
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Because I tell her, if I leave the kids with her and I come to the center
the whole
on a
time.
Tuesday night,
Yeah.
we done had a good day. I done took her out for lunch, a dinner date. You know what I'm saying? I got her ready. Come on, the kids been acting the fool. Now she mad at me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what I do?
Yeah, because
Like,
you
we was
try.
ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what he means. Like, and that's why it's like, y'all will tell us, well, you still should have tried. No. Nothing about you is saying, hey, I want you tonight. Nothing about you is saying I want you. Bonnet on, nothing sexy. Your attitude. Come on.
Wait a minute.
This is it. Look, this is not just us. This is all marriages.
There's a lot of marriages.
All females do this.
Hey,
But I know Janelle don't wear no bonnet though.
now listen. Listen, hey, this is true story though, for real, and I'll share. You know what you're saying right there is going back to one of the things, and we work through this. Like I'm sharing, being transparent. Like we work through exactly what you're talking about right here. I feel like one of the things that I would say is that goes back to communication for both of us though. Because like, hey, if we want to be intimate, if we want, I still have to date her. I still have to.
Yeah.
I still have to do all of those things you were talking about. And then if the kids ruin it, but also too for me, I say, look, I can stay up. I only need a couple hours of rest, and I'm good to go. Like I'm good. I'm good to rock and roll. All right, I can like wake up at 2, 3 in the morning. I'm good to go. But like she needs her rest. So if I come in the bedroom at 11 o'clock trying to rub on her, no, well, she's already gone, man. She's in another world. So we've got ground. What I'm saying is we've got ground rules, but it's got to. I know that it's got to start sooner.
Come on.
She's looking at her watch saying it's 11:30. What you thinking? It's 12 o'clock. I'm like, the kids just went to bed, and she's like, well, you should have put them bed in at 8. And I'm like, I got one that's just like me. He ain't going to bed at 8. But what I'm saying is, I gotta make sure I communicate that and let her know. And same for her. There might be a day she needs to let me know that. So okay, I need to get the kids in bed at 7 o'clock tonight.
And we will.
That's right.
Like, if you tell us, and we own it. It ain't.
And it's like we're a different man.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So my wife want me. Hey, bro, I gotta go.
Yeah, hey, get in bed right now. Hey, if you come out of this room.
But I love this because we're being transparent. We're being real. We ain't trying to fake this and try to act like all marriages is just hunky dory. No. This is real. You have to have a true commitment when it comes to being married, and that's gonna segue us into number 4. This is for the Malones. How has your perspective on love and commitment evolved over the years?
So I will say life introduced us to a lot of obstacles that made us understand or to really put in works our commitment. Like when I say challenges such as me getting in trouble with the law or her being diagnosed with cancer and things like that, it changed everything. And it helped us to love each other in a whole nother aspect. So we knew, we said it, and we showed it to a point. But like it has a whole nother meaning when life happens. When life happens. And so just being able to build off of that and our commitment, like that's when we really get to see, when you hear your vows and so on, it's just like the preview of a movie. But we really don't really pay attention to that like we really need to until it happens. And when it happens, because we didn't pay attention to the preview, that's when everybody want to get a divorce. Everybody want to do all these other things. So when life happened and we was able to execute in those moments, the commitment had a whole different type of meaning. But that's just partial.
I agree. But for the most part, I kind of studied that question and we're on the same page. We got married at 19 and we really didn't know each other, So we ended up pregnant, then pregnant again. And I was like, we get to know each other now. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, so we go get to know each other now. There's no divorce. There's no anything. We're in this together now. So when he did get in trouble and was facing 25 years, he looked at me before court and he said, and I was big and pregnant. I was about 8.5 months pregnant with our second baby. And he said to me, they're going to sentence me. And I'm probably going to have to do some time so you can leave. And I'm like, I just got out of bed. I ain't going nowhere. I'm not thinking, I'm sick and I'm nervous. And he was like, no, I don't want you dragging the kids down to the prison. I don't want you coming. I'm going to file for a divorce. I'm going to contest it. Like, you ain't divorcing me, So I stood by him and he went through a lot of hard times, although, God is good. He didn't go to prison. But he did do 6 months in the county work release. So we were separated. But I stood by him. There were times I should have left because of the mental toll that it took on me. But I remember talking to my mother-in-law and she was like, you're the closest one to him. and he's going to take everything out on you. So just be there for him, you know. And I prayed and prayed, and I just asked God to give me the words to say to him and comfort him, you know. So we ended up going through that and got out, and we're fine. And then, you know, life happens and cancer came. And I remember him telling me, do you remember you took care of me and you held our house down and you held our boys down and all of that while I was locked up? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I'm going to return the favor. So he did. You know, we spent a lot of times at UAB. I was in ICU for about 17 days. And every time that I would come back around, because I was so sedated, I would see Dwayne in a chair. You know, my father came and he would try to relieve him. He wouldn't leave. My father came to him on a personal note and was like, hey, this is going to be hard. And this is nothing against any man in here. But he was like, men are weak. And what I mean by that is we hate to see our woman suffer and there's nothing we can do about it. Mm-hmm. So in that case, you become weak because you can't do nothing. So, and he was like, just promise me, if you leave her, bring her to me. And Dwayne was like, no, you know, I'm gonna ride this out with her. We in this together. She took care of me. She held it down, and I'm just returning the favor. So, you know, like I said, every time I came back around, he was there. Wasn't able to bathe myself. You know, he was there. And most women, you know, would call their mom. And I didn't have to do that. So there were challenges in with me coming off of work and going from 2 incomes to 1. It was hard, but you know, he held it down, and it, to me, it brought us closer.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know, because
most definitely.
And I tell people I've always loved Dwayne, even when he was begging me to be his little girlfriend. He stalked me in the mall, y'all, until I said yes. I was. So, you know, I appreciate that, and to know that you've really got somebody there for you, and it's beyond that.
Yeah,
you know.
So it sounds like through the tough times, it tested you guys. Mm-hmm. Then it showed you guys who you really were, because we always talk about how sometimes we're waiting, like as you're growing as a person, you're waiting for that opportunity to prove to somebody that you are who you say you are. You see what I'm saying? So when life hit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to hit back.
And I'll say too, just real briefly,
make it brief because we got to move on.
Most definitely. Listen, just to be transparent, when I got married, I wasn't ready to be married. That's just me being honest. I just knew I loved her and I wanted to be with her.
Yeah.
But what it took to be a husband, I was probably about 10, 15 in before then.
Wow.
You know, you got what I'm saying? Because I didn't really know that. But now I understand the importance of it. And a lot of it just having the way marriage was modeled in front of me.
Come on.
You know, and different things like that. But I'm telling you, it was game changing to know the feeling to the core that there's someone that got your back when everybody else turned.
That's good.
You got what I'm saying?
I just want to add this real quick because we've been in a stage. Sometimes commitment is not necessarily like what's happening to your spouse, but what's happening to someone close to your spouse and how you love them through that. Like right now, we've been in the phase of sick parents, and you know, anybody that knows know we not from here. So it's not like, oh, let me ride down the street and check on my dad, or let me ride down the street and handle this. It's like, look, I need you to hold this down. I got to be gone a couple of days, or I need to do this, or I got to be on this phone, or just for me, the way he loves me through the fact of the guilt I feel from not being there sometimes when things are going on, and how that, just kind of rock my mind some days, and he's like, look, this is what we got to do. So, how commitment is also how you're loved through life situations, and the support you feel from your spouse while they're trying to help a parent. I mean, I know a lot of people's probably been through that, but that's a whole different ball game in a marriage. You get that one call and it just some change with your parent, or that one, ambulance call or something like that. And it's a whole different mindset and a different way of like loving me in the moments I'm completely checked out, so that's a whole different kind of commitment there too.
It's good.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Man, this is good.
It's on me,
This is
right?
good. This is good. All right. So this we're gonna make this the last question, and then we'll kind of flow off this, and then we'll close it out so we can try to get out here within the next 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how much y'all talk.
Yeah. So, real quick feedback. Is it good? Everything good right now? Okay.
All right, here we go. This is for the greats.
Let's go.
What role does communication play in your marriage? What role does communication play in y'all marriage? Not in marriage, but in y'all marriage.
It's been everything, to be honest, because our relationship has always been a long distance relationship. Oh, it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Still
the
in her
truth.
thunder.
I met her when I was in college at Alabama A&M, and how I met her was that I went to the state of Iowa to do an internship, and that's where she lived. So we became friends then, but even in developing our friendship, it was just telephone conversations. That's really what it was. So that's how we got to know each other. That's how we grew to know each other and things of that nature. And even when you fast forward, when we even started dating, it still was long distance. So when we finally got married, literally, matter of fact, Pastor Nelson came to the wedding and he hooked up the U-Haul to the back of his truck and pulled all our stuff from Iowa here. And that's when we officially, you know what I'm saying, lived together and moved in together. So you look at that aspect of it, we were always communicating, right? Talking, getting to know each other, developing a relationship. And then when you look at the aspect that we don't even have family here, it's just me and her. And then you look at the fact that it started off with just me and her, and now we have 4 boys, and navigating all of those different terrains over the years, working and kids in school and sports and everything, and literally having to rely on each other to do all of that. Communication has been major from the beginning and even till now. And I love it because we have enough, I don't know if you want to call it discipline, comfortability, whatever the case may be, to talk about all these different things. And when I said in the beginning about having the understanding the level of submissiveness and sacrifice and dying to myself, that's what it really takes for us to navigate our lives in the hand that we've been dealt. So the communication piece just has been huge.
I like that. It's on.
Okay. No, communication is definitely the foundation of our marriage, other than God, besides God. But outside of that, it's the forms and the different types of communication. Because there may be days where I'm like, I don't need my husband, I need my friend. So when I come to you, I need to have a friend response and not a husband response. Or I may need you to minister, I may need you to pray. So it's the different types of communication that comes along with the marriage and the relationship that I think continues to help us grow and to understand and continue to be one and not just be stuck at, well, I'm your husband, I'm going to tell you blah, 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 and he understands where he'll come in the room like, yo, I need my business partner. I'm like, dang, I'm trying to get in them sheets. No. So when y'all was talking about that, I'm the guy. He's trying to communicate and I'm like, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Let's go.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I love it. I think one thing I do want to add to that is life itself, and of course marriage, it go through a lot of different phases. And I think it's the different phases that oftentimes can begin to throw things off within the marriage. And I think it's always important to be sensitive to the various phases that you're entering into or that you're currently in your marriage. And I just think about, the long hours and days that I spend working in manufacturing, 12 hours and 13-hour shifts and 7 days a week and different stuff like that. And understanding like what it did to me, and it, in its own unique way, it created a form of separation. And I just remember that because it created a form of separation, like I remember a question was just posed to me in a guy setting, right? And they were just like, what, how important is like intimacy? Like I don't know, it was kind of like if you can communicate, if you could talk about something or have intimacy, which one would you prefer, right? And it was crazy because in that moment, my answer was completely different from everybody else's. And I was like, yo, I want to be able to just talk to my wife, right? I want to be able to communicate with my wife. And I chose that because when you just look at the space that I was in, that we was in, being separated, and I'm coming home every night, but being away so much. Yes, I'm working night shifts and the whole 9 yards. Like it's just crazy. I'm coming home to sleep, she leaving, and different things of that nature. But
I can do that.
But the truth of the, right, it's hard, bro. It's hard. But one thing that was missing was having a unique ability to just really talk about just whatever it was that we wanted to talk about, and that was missing. So for me in that moment, the communication was the form of intimacy that I needed and that I yearned for to feel connected and unified in our marriage.
I like that. Anybody want to comment on that?
Anybody?
I would say this, that as a pastor and doing counseling on marriages and things, communication is the most important part of any marriage. Because what you realize is that when you begin to talk to different marriages, you'll realize really that husband and that wife don't really communicate with each other. And they just go and they do, and they go through the emotions, they go through the routine, and they never communicate to let, I'm gonna be over here, or I'm gonna be over there, or she come home needing you and you down here, but you didn't tell her you was going down there. And then I'm calling, and then you don't respond, and they text, you don't respond to the text. And it's like, man, and so many marriages struggle and wind up in divorce only because of communication, because they just don't have a relationship, a vocal relationship with each other. And as the Bible says, dwell with them according to knowledge. Without the communication, there's no knowledge. But if you communicate, everything else about the marriage will work, because communication will lead to the intimacy, and when you know them, it all leads to it. So it is the foundation. The very first lesson when I do marriage counseling is communication. Because if you don't have that, you really don't have a marriage. You say your vows. And your vows is you communicating because you're talking to one another. But then after you do your vows, how often do you sit down and talk to one another?
So with communication, it's just kind of going back to what Nelson said, is that it formulates the dynamic of your marriage. Because we all have different perspectives of where we grown from and how we see marriage. So when we communicate, we develop a oneness to say, hey, this is how the formulation of our marriage should be. Not how my parents were, not how my friends were, not how I get influenced by the outside. This is how we stand on our marriage, because we've communicated that. Because I think that's one thing for me and my wife, is that we've learned to develop what God has called our marriage to be. Not how my parents were. That's good. Not how her parents were. We are able to lean on each other because we've communicated and developed a standard of how our marriage will be. So I believe that communication, it establishes what your marriage is and can be.
So for me on communication, I have no problem telling him everything I'm thinking about. So I have no problem with that. Sometimes I'm like, don't you want to say something? Don't you want to say something? Don't you want to say something? He's like, nah, I'm good, But as time went on, we had started having deeper conversations. And it was like this light bulb went off to me as a wife that, okay, he is opening up to me. And I got to watch what I say, how I move and what I do, because I don't want him to close that door. And so it's very, I think sometimes we don't realize how precious that is for our husbands to tell us their most intimate thoughts. Because now you've unlocked this new level of trust and this new level of communication. And sometimes when you tell me, I'll get really, really quiet because I'm really, really excited, because I'm like, ooh, he's telling me, this is real for him. And at the same time, I'm like, don't say nothing stupid and mess it up. Don't blow it. Don't blow it. Don't even let them know you're excited. You're going to ruin it. But I think we have to be very careful as wives with their deepest thoughts once he shares it, it's never coming back up again unless he brings it up. Even if I thought about something else that I should have added to that, what he said that may help, I'm not bringing it back up. That's it. I missed that window. I just missed it. And so we have to be very careful when our husbands open up and share those intimate thoughts and cherish those moments, because they just don't do that often.
And I would just add to this, and once they share it, we as wives, we got to know how to cover it. We got to cover this. That's a big issue in marriages, because I may expose something to you, you expose something to me, and before I know it, in the heat of a moment, I didn't cover you, I've uncovered you. So now I've made you more vulnerable. So you will not open up the next time.
You will not.
Because I'm scared you're going to use it against me. When I should have just allowed you the opportunity to cover me in that moment. And when I say cover, I'm not just talking about because it was vulnerable. What are we saying outside about each other? What have I just, what was the deepest thing that I just exposed you, not realizing that I exposed you, but now I've given somebody something to use against you also.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. We don't want to be judged.
What?
Like if I bring you something, like it, and no matter what it is, if I bring you something and I'm opening up to you, I don't want to be judged about it. It was something so simple the other night.
He touching on the leg.
Listen, so I ordered pizza, went and picked the pizza up, brought the pizza home, and they messed my order up. And the first thing out of her mouth was, "You ain't checked the pizza before you left?" And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, and this is what I said. I looked at it, I said, do you really think I need that right now? Do you really think I need that right now? I'm already ticked off at myself.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna throw that to me. I'm like, come on. You see what I'm saying? It's like, but
the catch is, here's the catch. When it came out, I knew I had already messed up. because this is literally how I said it. I said, "You ain't checked the box for you left?" And I just sat there because I knew. I was like, oh, man. So when he responded in the way, and he had that tone, just like that, it was like, you really think I need that right now? Now, this could go one or two ways. I can pop right back and say, well, you should have checked y'all. Or I can go, you know what? He didn't need that. And you know what? We've been from ball field to ball field today. Yes. I don't even know how his day was.
That's good.
So before I pop back, how about you even find out how his day went? Because that might be the straw that's about to break the camel's back right here. So that's what I mean about learning each other. I knew that tone and that turnaround. First of all, he's not snappy like that with me. Yeah. And I probably deserve it sometimes, but he's not snappy. So when he snapped, I knew that's it. He can't take no more. And we hadn't spoke about it till right now. Because I already knew I messed up. It wasn't nothing else to talk about. It's just, that's it.
Yeah.
Man, I know you're trying to wrap it up, but I want to say this, Blame Dwayne.
Oh my goodness.
I remember I got fired. I ain't never been fired before. I got fired from a job. This wasn't that long ago. This is like, what, two and a half years ago. It wasn't even that long ago. And when it happened, I did two things. I went back to the office and I sat in my chair and I was like, God, what are you up to? And shortly after that, I was like, how am I going to tell my wife I just got fired? But when I told her, the way she handled it, dog, was absolutely outstanding. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was amazing. And in that moment, when I was so worried and so anxious, it brought a level of peace to me. And during that season, and we're talking about just communicating, I began to share to her what I felt like, what I thought God was doing in our lives at that moment. And though she didn't fully understand it, she received it. And daily she attempted to understand and perceive and see what I felt like God was doing in our lives, even though I was currently unemployed. And she never nagged. She never complained over those months. She just was like, it was almost like you were just happy. She was just like, it was just unbelievable. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm in a space where I'm open and I'm just trying to figure this thing out, man. And in a sense, I'm just trying to be obedient. But my wife always made me feel comfortable. She always made me feel like things was going to work out. And just the way she handled me in those months was just such a game changer to give me the confidence to continue to move forward in what I believe God was telling me to do.
I love it. Love it.
I think that goes to speaking those things that your husband is and not what he's not. Because a lot of times we can feed off of what he's not and be like, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. But I refuse to say what he's not, because we can do that all day. There's people out in the world who can talk about your husband. But when we in my house, I will tell you, you strong, you're intelligent, you a black hero, you this,
You see what I'm
So
saying?
we got to lift up what he is, because a lot of times there's women who dwell on the negative and what he's not doing. Well, girl, my husband said this. Well, let me tell you what my husband's doing.
You better not. Don't
And
be
he-
bragging too much.
No, I'm talking about because he was. If I brag, he wasn't no job, but they didn't know that. They didn't know he didn't have a job. They like, oh, he taking care of. Yes, ma'am. So you have to communicate those things of what your husband is and where you want him to go. Speak those things to your husband. Speak those things to your marriage. Speak those things over your children. Where do you see your family going? Because like Home Dude said, this is what we make it. Thank you for your input. Thank you for how you handle your marriage. But how we're going to take care of it is how we're going to be successful in our marriage.
That's good. One more comment and we
I got a quick one, man.
go ahead.
It's me and my wife. We've been together almost 40 years now. But what we've come to understand is that marriage is supernatural. You were given a mate by God, specially chosen specifically for you, and vice versa. So when we understand that there's something inside of her that God put in there, especially for me, and there's something inside of me that's especially for her. But if I just get into surface things, I never find out what that truly is. But we've gone through some hard issues over our life, and that's the covering. That's what I needed to hear from her when we were going through some very serious problems. It was that God already put the two, became one flesh. And we became one flesh. That was in her in abundance, what I needed during those hard times. So my thing is, as you grow and continue to grow and do the things that you're doing to keep your life alive, it's the secret thing that God has already prepared, because he knows the beginning and he knows the ending. So when you find that special connection, because when a man finds a woman, he finds a great thing. It can never be replaced. So spend that time in the intimacy and seeking God. You can never change a man. She can never change me, but God can. That's it.
Hey,
Go ahead.
One thing real quick. So kind of coming off of that, but all of that goes back to communication for me. I'll say for me, if I do my job is between me and the Lord. If I get that right, if I can get that right,
That's it.
okay, I can't. You just said I can't change her. It doesn't matter what she was. She can't change me, man. I'm so stubborn. Nobody changing me but God. I promise. I'm telling you straight up. But if I get that right, and she focuses on her getting that right, and then together we're serving each other. Like my job's not to. You said it, Don. My job's not to serve me, because our flesh wants us to serve our flesh. Like that's what we want to do. But if I can get this right between me and God, and she's working on between her and God, then I can get that flesh out of the way, so I can serve her how she needs to be served, and then vice versa. And then you got that marriage that hopefully one day our kids can look at and say, I want it to be just like that. I want it to be just like my mom and dad, because man, my dad served mom, my mom served dad, but they love God and they put him first, and they got that right, and then they could serve each other.
That's awesome. And I bet after you get done serving, you say, my pleasure.
Hey, that's right. It is my pleasure.
I just got to say this, because that was really good. I was talking to somebody and I said sometimes everybody gets confused when they say that third strand, that cord is God. Look, if my heart is wrapped in God and his is wrapped in God, it's some stuff I don't have to say to him. I prayed this prayer last night, and when I walked in the door, he said, "Look, the other day, such and such, such and such, and you know what? That's on me." Or I might walk up to him and go, "I've been thinking this, and that," and that's his prayer because God's in the midst. He's communicating on the other person's behalf, and I'm like, man, like some pop up in my mind that I didn't even think about, and I'm like, he must have been praying about that. I'm gonna have to go ahead and tell him I'm sorry. So if you got that connection and you both wrapped up and you both praying, he'll communicate to your partner on your behalf the difficult things. So
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like we've all talked about the Bible and related things back to the Bible on tonight. God has instilled something in the woman that the man needs already automatically and vice versa. So as long as we keep the communication going and we keep God first, then we will succeed and we can make it. So that's basically it.
Amen. Amen. We're gonna close it out. You got something else? You're gonna be quick. I'll let you go.
I'm be quick.
Okay.
I'm be real
This
quick.
it. This is it.
I'm
This
being
is
real
it.
quick. I think this is good, but it has to be a part 2.
Oh yeah.
And then the reason it has to be a part 2 is because it's going to really be like a part 2 that you need to deal with women and a part 2 that you need to deal with men, because most men don't know how to be a husband.
Come on.
And because they haven't truly been taught by their father. And then you got a lot of men that entered into marriage that didn't have a father like me, had a stepdad. So actuality, I'm in my 4th marriage. So the other 3, when you don't know how to be a husband, you don't know how to be a father, you don't know how to take care of kids, you don't know how to do a lot of things, you just going on a win because no one has ever took the time to teach you or to show you. So it took over 20 something years for me to learn that by the time I married my wife in 2001, I was able to see somebody who had 10 kids to be a guidance for me that I could glean from to learn how to be the husband, the father, the male that I am. And I think a lot of times big mamas are gone. Now, big mamas that was raising us and keeping the family and the values and everything, they're not here. So we have to do something to where the mature women begin to take on the younger women to teach them so they could be a wife, according to Proverbs 31, that virtuous woman. We don't have it. And then we need to have the same thing for mature men that's willing to take the young men and teach them how to be a husband.
I agree.
And be a provider.
That's good.
All right. So our topic for tonight was our biggest lessons from married life. Dwayne Malone, close us out, my guy.
Listen, thank you so very much for tuning in to this broadcast. Thank you to all of our guests, the panel, as well as the guests in the audience. We really appreciate it so very much. I will go ahead and tell you, look forward to an episode next week. We're doing for singles. So some of the married people that want to show up in the audience, come and do it. It's going to be good as well. We're excited about it. Thanks again. With that being said, this is our episode, Elevated Chat Room, where you elevate your mind, elevate your life.
We out.